Oh, nice. Oh, hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Twitch with the Dead Rising. I'm joined by my friend, Young Nasty Man, as he plays Gears of War 2. He will be assisting with commentary throughout this adventure on Resident Evil 2. We'll be talking about our thoughts and feelings about this game, and things that did right and things that did wrong, and, just, you know, a think piece as we go through this wonderful story together. How you doing tonight, Young Nasty? Oh, I'm doing pretty good. You cut out there, but I was able to piece the pieces together. We'll see if the audio keeps up throughout this evening, but
Look, man,
we'll take it and leave it.
through my own eyes.
Oh, I believe you, buddy. I believe you. Just tell us a story. Tell us a story.
Okay, well, it was
So,
I walking home from the
I
bar,
personally
this woman
love
started
this game to
coming towards me.
bits. I've played through
She
it
staggered,
about,
so I figured she'd
at this
choke.
point, almost 10 times.
Okay, tell us. Be honest now.
I've done
How many
each story
drinks
at
did you
least
have?
4
Oh,
times,
man, I barely had a
and
buzz on.
Oh, come on.
I've gotten S
She got
ranking
closer and I got a
on
good look at her.
both of the normal modes. Almost gotten S ranking on the second stories.
It looked like a
How
drawing. She
how
looked like a corpse.
how do you
Like a walking
feel
corpse, man.
Resident Evil 2 remake
like my wife.
compares to
Never seen anything like
other
that. I haven't been able to sleep
games
since
in the
that night.
All right,
series?
calm down, buddy. Calm down. Just, hey, you gotta stay strong. Okay? Don't give in to fear out there, right?
Yeah, well, you got that right. If you freeze up around these things, they'll sink their teeth in you. I should attack somebody.
Come on. It's just getting good.
Okay.
I need some sleep. Oh, shit!
Okay. So me personally, I grew up with older siblings that played Resident Evil on PlayStation, and I, for one, never really played them myself. And half the time when they would have them on, my mom would like walk past their bedroom door as I would be sitting in there with them watching it, and she'd tell me to get out because it's a rated M game. I was barely 5 when they were playing those kinds of games, and so it was definitely a unique experience with me growing up. I actually didn't really get into Resident Evil until the films started up. Like, I think my first actual sit-down experience with Resident Evil was the first movie, and watching that at one of my friends' house because they had it rented or something or other. Oh my gosh, the neck. sorry. I'm playing with the 1998 skins, and this is a lot better than I thought it was.
It's weird.
Oh,
But
but yeah,
takes me
no.
back.
But no. So do you? I don't know. It's my understanding that your family was a little bit more open and involved with the games themselves as opposed to the franchise as a whole. Like, you guys played the games growing up, or at least your parents did. So it seems as though you were exposed to it a lot sooner than I did, or I was. So, yeah, would you like to fill in on
Yeah.
that?
Resident Evil 4 was actually the first
Something's
rated
not right.
M game my dad and I ever played. He saw it at, I think, Blockbuster, some rental
right?
place rented it, and we thought it was a blast. And then, unbeknownst to my mom, he actually bought it, and we kept it in his sock drawer for a couple months and would only play it when she was gone, because we didn't want to get in trouble.
So in other words,
Cool Resident Evil.
your mom was not. So in other words, instead of your dad hiding porn mags in his sock drawer, he hid rated M games for you.
Yep, exactly. And then, yeah, we loved Resident Evil 4, and then we picked up Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Okay, so pretty much all the classics, give or take. So
then years later, we got the other ones.
Yeah, picked up the other ones as well. So I guess how long has it been since you sat down and played some of those more classic? Oh, and there's Claire. Oh my gosh.
I recently did a playthrough of Resident Evil 4, but I haven't dared touch any of the other old ones just because I can't handle the tank controls of them.
Controls.
And
Yeah.
watching your recent gameplay of those classic ones has not made me want to go back and play them either, though. You suffered through them all.
Come on!
Yeah, and I think that's something that's interesting is at this point in time I've played through 0, 1, 2, 3, and Revelations. Well, the remake of 3. And at this point in time, honestly, if I had to rank them, I'd probably go 2, 1, the HD remaster of 1, 3, and 0, and then Revelations.
They'll have some answers at the police station.
You're a cop?
Yeah. Leon Kennedy.
Mainly because, one,
Clear Redfield.
I feel like they updated it just enough to where
Around here?
the camera angles
No.
and the take controls,
my brother.
because if you play on
Too.
the new updated controls, it doesn't
Good thing we
actually
found
use
each
tank
other.
controls, so it's definitely a lot
I don't know
better
what to
to
expect anymore.
control than most other, classic Resident Evil games. So I honestly feel like the first one is as it is now. If they were to literally just kind of update the graphics a little bit more and maybe make it to where you can aim and walk at the same time, but keep the same camera angles, I feel like that would add so much to the nostalgia factor that it would work out more so than doing something that they did like this, or with Resident Evil 3, where they made it a over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, kind of keep it that security camera watching you angle. I guess
Yeah,
if
that angle
if
really
that makes
did
sense.
help. Yeah, it helped bring in an extra element of fear, because with these other games, you can be checking every corner, every nook and cranny, and see everything. Whereas in that one, you only saw what they wanted you to see.
Attention,
And so
citizens.
when the Crimson Heads came back
Due the
to,
citywide outbreak,
yeah, it was
we're
this.
advised to take shelter at the Raccoon
Yeah.
City Police
Yeah, it was definitely. How's it going, Chef? Thanks for joining us. I'm joined tonight with a special guest, Young Nasty. He's kind of grown up with the Resident Evil series here and there, so we're going to be playing through the second one. He's kind of tagging along by watching the stream as well. But we're going to be chatting about Resident Evil 2 and just the Resident Evil series as a whole, and how it's kind of, in a way, affected our lives as gamers and as people who have played video games and whatnot. But yeah, so those camera angles in the first game, I feel like they almost heightened your other senses in a way, because your sight was so limited, and there were small little things that would occur, like you could hear the Crimson Heads because their breathing and moaning was different than the normal zombies, so you could tell that they were coming. Their footsteps were faster, so they sounded different. So there was a lot more audio cues that came with the first game when they introduced Crimson Heads, and other enemies. I mean, like the murder crows, those things were pretty easy to avoid, but you could still hear them as they came. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how dead they look. It's so great. This is amazing.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, throughout your gameplay, we've seen different effects of the virus, such as in 0 where they have their leeches, and then 1 where it's much more classic zombies, 2 where it gets more into the biohazard, more so in 3, and then in 4 it's a more evolved form of a virus which doesn't go into zombies at all. It's purely just biohazard. What are your... Do you like just the classic zombie feel, or do you like the more biohazard?
So personally,
Claire, you
I
okay?
prefer the. So the interesting thing about Resident Evil is, at least for the numbered games, obviously excluding 0 because it was more or less a not an afterthought, but it definitely was written after all of these other great games had already been written, and you know the story had been developed in such a way that it allowed. I don't want to go that way. It had been developed and written in such a way that 0 more or less felt like an afterthought compared to like 4 and stuff. So I don't really consider it part of, I guess, the solid main canon of the numbered series, even though it technically has a number. But the way I've always kind of seen the series is a breakdown of
There it is.
of various biohazards that could occur within our world and have occurred within our world. I mean, as of right now, we are conflicted with a virus that is affecting the world, not just, you know, Raccoon City or a mansion out in the middle of the mountains, but it is affecting the world as a whole. And so if you look at it, Resident Evil 1 through 3 is primarily the T virus and the G virus and a viral-based outbreak and pandemic that occurs within the confines of the Arklay Mountains and Raccoon City. And then Resident Evil 4 through 6 is more of a parasitic outbreak, you know, with the Las Plagas of Resident Evil 4 and the Ouroboros of Resident Evil 5 and 6. And so it's unique to kind of see how the game series changed, because not only did it transition from being a viral outbreak to a parasitic outbreak, it also transitioned from the fixed camera angles up in a corner, forcing you into specific situations and using specific things to kind of work your way through it, to a over-the-shoulder third-person scenario that we're kind of seeing right now and what we're used to for this series as a whole, with the exclusion of 7. And 7 is kind of one of those odd outliers for this series, because I view it as technically another trilogy, because it doesn't deal with a virus or a parasite. We never really find out specifically what is going on in Resident Evil 7. Sorry, I'm used to the controls of Resident Evil 4, so I'm trying to remember everything. You know, I've been spending all of Resident Evil 4 hitting the Y button to open my inventory, and now I'm hitting the start button in this game to open it. And so, yeah, I think not only does the changes of, you know, transitioning from kind of a virus to a parasite shows how the series has grown and changed, but it also shows kind of how, you know, there's only so much you can do with a virus. There's only so many times you can show the same exact zombies coming back to life over and over again, and kind of wreaking havoc on these same 6 characters that we kind of follow along throughout the series. And then, you know, they took a risk and threw in a parasite. And, you know, I've said this throughout my Resident Evil 4 playthroughs, but I feel like Resident Evil 4 was kind of in a way, a death of the classic Resident Evil feel. It went from being a horror game to being an action horror game. And that, you know, that is what happens when you kind of mess with the camera and mess with the controls, and it just feels and controls a lot more like a lot more like a action game than, you know, anything else. And like I said, that's just kind of my personal take on it. Obviously, everybody grew up with something different. Grew up with something to fear in a way. But yeah, so I honestly prefer kind of the more classic zombie feel, but that's mainly just because the games that have the classic zombies are definitely a lot more horror-oriented, in my opinion.
One thing that I just thought of, if you recall in Resident Evil 3, there's a note, I believe, or maybe a recording, where it talks about Nemesis and how in Europe, the European division of Umbrella, I believe, they used parasites. And in Resident Evil 4, you head over there where they're using parasites. I wonder if that's somehow interconnected.
Yeah, I don't think it's been 100% confirmed that they used the Las Plagas to infect Nemesis or to, you know, control Nemesis, because that's one of the interesting things is Nemesis was created similar to the other tyrants in the series, and if I remember correctly, he actually is one of the tyrants that that was kind of introduced in the labs underneath the mansion in the Arklay Mountains. Like, you know how we ran into the Tyrant Type 0 that ends up killing Wesker and is the final boss. If I remember correctly, Nemesis is actually one of those tyrants, or at least based off of one of those tyrants. And they put the parasite into him to allow them more control over him, not to help his infection grow him into the monster. It's pretty much they had the monster, and then they saw how uncontrollable the tyrants were throughout the history of Umbrella, and they were like, how can we control this better? Well, what's something that kind of helps control other things in real life? You know, what is something that gains control over other life in the real world? And, you know, the answer boils down to a symbiotic relationship. And most of the time, a parasitic symbiotic relationship is what yields the most control for the host. Or most control for the thing infecting the host. The symbiote infecting the host. And so it's one of those interesting things where, you know, we are introduced to Nemesis in such a way. Hold on, I'm gonna switch around my guns real quick because I wanna kind of get through this as fast as possible. So I'm not even gonna mess with Matilda. I'm just pulling this out. But it's definitely interesting that they kind of bring that point up. And if I remember correctly, as far as the lore goes, I believe the European division of Umbrella is closer to Germany. So it's a little bit more, I guess, western, or a little bit more east than, I believe it's supposed to be Spain or around that region where Resident Evil 4 takes place. So another thing about that is the Los Illuminados are not a part of Umbrella. Yeah. In fact, Umbrella had been disbanded and kind of destroyed at that point due to the actions of you know, Jill and Chris, and yeah, the events of Raccoon City had also kind of helped get rid of that being a threat. And so yeah, it's definitely interesting to kind of theorize that. Let's just put that right there, and think about that. It would be interesting if they kind of came out with more sorry, force of habit, more things like that kind of pointed in a connection of that sort. But I honestly would be okay with them just never never making that connection, or just coming out and saying, no, it's not the Las Plagas. Like, come on, you guys are freaking idiots for even talking about that. Why would you think that? But yeah, and it's very interesting because, you know, this is the first time I've actually played this game since playing Resident Evil 3, and there's obviously a lot of similarities. You know, you go through this entire police station pretty much in Resident Evil 3, so it's actually pretty... Why am I picking up ammo I don't need? It's actually pretty interesting to, you know, be back here, and, you know, I don't know if you noticed the liquor claws, claw marks that were in the hallway that we came down before we went into that room that had the map. But you know, we learned in Resident Evil 3 that those were made while Carlos was running away from the liquors. All right, what's this one? Is it 9-7-15 or is it 9-15-7? Is that what it is? Yeah, it is. Haha! Still got it.
You know you've played a game too many times when you have all the combinations memorized.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these ones are the ones that I struggle with. D. And then this one is R. No. M-R-G.
It wasn't until my most recent playthrough of this game that I actually realized that there's nameplates on all of the desks. I just brute forced every single one of these locks when I played through.
So you didn't read the note that is left specifically there for that purpose?
I didn't look hard enough, apparently.
Yeah, no.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it was murder, just going through every single one until I finally got it.
Yeah, I think the downfall of me having so much of this game memorized is I literally am in the mode of picking up every little possible thing when I definitely do not need to.
But it is nice to have the map all blue, and you can only get that by picking up all the enemies.
Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating than having a room red and not knowing what you haven't grabbed.
Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, you know, like once you play this game enough, it gets to the point to where you because there are specific film rolls that actually give you the location of specific items that you can use throughout the game, and you know, there are things like minor weapon upgrades and stuff like that, stuff that you don't really need to win the game, but you can only access them if you actually find the film roll and develop it. So if you get far enough in the game, you will be backtracking throughout this entire map about 4 or 5 times.
What?
Just to get certain things.
What did the pictures show? Because I honestly didn't bother developing the last 1 or 2 rolls I picked up because I just didn't want to have to go all the way back. But I assume
one of the
it was more passcodes for the lockers that I had already brute forced.
Some of them are passcodes. Oh, these things are always murder on my mind. Okay, so that one. So we want that. Ah, dang it. There we go. So one of them is the desk in the Stars office, where you actually get the battery for the detonator. And another one is this one's DMC or DCM. Nope. Wait. This one's Cap. And then the other one upstairs is DCM or DMC or whatever. And it gives you a weapon upgrade. I forget what it is for Leon and also Claire. And then the other one is one of the desks in that kind of presentation room where I first kind of ran in, turned on the light in the first little sequence, and picked up some of the ammo. What do we not need? Oh, we don't need this. Or at least won't need it. Let's go ahead and combine those, because it's always good to have things combined. There's our little friend.
Yeah, the Magnum ammo. In every single Resident Evil game I've played, I've always respected the Magnum and hoarded it like a dragon, so that I just have full pockets by the time I get to the end and I can let it ring.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is one of those interesting games where the Magnum isn't actually, in my opinion, isn't actually the best option. I think the best few guns in this game are definitely those hidden gems of the shotgun and grenade launcher. Those secondary weapons are just somehow so good.
It's Marvin. I need you back here ASAP.
Yeah, but they're stingy with that ammo for the grenade launcher.
It's important.
Copy that.
Yeah,
I'll be
but
right there.
you're able to make acid rounds, which are really good for taking out things like the lickers and the I don't want to say like the
Adult
classic
Gs.
zombies. Yeah, the adult Gs, those get taken out pretty easy. But also just the there's just a lot of things that you can take out with the grenade launcher. Like, the flame grenades are perfect for the IVs, and I don't know, I feel like it's a lot more useful than people give it credit.
I personally, it was my bread and butter because I hated that stupid quick army gun or whatever it's called. That was the worst,
Knew she'd make it.
worst gun.
You know her?
Yeah, the quick draw Amy.
Name's Claire. I came into town with her.
You can get to that courtyard through the second floor.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely a unique thing to have
I'm on it.
in a way.
Thanks, Lieutenant.
I've just realized that I haven't gotten any of the medallions up to this point. Freaking rookie move over here. Must be my first day.
Man, it's the real icing on the cake. And if I recall, didn't his girlfriend just break up with him too?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. But you know, that's why he's single and ready to mingle when Claire shows up. You know, we'll kind of see that random flirtatious Leon come on out in a second here. So what's
Especially
interesting with
when
this button?
Miss Ada rolls around.
Oh my gosh. Let's not talk about her and say we never did.
You're not an Ada fan?
Nah, I'm not really a fan of I don't know. I feel like the relationship between Claire and Leon is a lot more realistic than the relationship between Ada and Leon. That's just me though. No, I'm a hashtag Team Claire kind of guy.
Do you mean realistic as in like they're logical allies? Whereas
Yeah, well,
Ada being a secret agent for a corrupt organization would just shoot him in the back without a second thought?
No, because, you know, as we come to find out, Ada kind of uses him to her advantage, and, you know, that's what I would do. Oh, jeez.
To be fair,
but no,
though, she does save his life more than once.
That is true, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like the whole, and we're kind of gonna see it here in a second, when we go talk to Claire, but I feel like the dynamic between Claire and Leon is definitely a lot more realistic as a I don't know, like quote-unquote romantic relationship or even a friendship relationship, whereas him and Ada,
Passage
it's
isn't open yet.
obviously flirtatious, but that's because Ada's using it to her advantage in that sense. It's definitely a relationship that could be labeled toxic by some, or by most, actually. Because it is definitely a one-sided relationship.
Anytime it's a manipulative relationship, it's definitely toxic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do feel that I do like their relationship, because even though it's that, at least in 2, she's using him quite extensively, she does look out for Leon, and Leon looks out for her, which in my mind puts her as more of an anti-hero.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I guess I should clarify. I have nothing against Ada. I guess I just have something against the people who bother, you know, shipping him, Leon and Ada together as a romantic couple. Because it just, in my mind, doesn't make sense. Like, Leon is definitely a lot smarter than that.
Especially
and I feel
in
like
every other game past 2. Leon's wise to her ways at that point.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of things that happen in at least this game, maybe not the original 2, but in this game that definitely set it up as though Leon and Claire, within kind of the reset continuity of the series, would be a romantic item at some point in time. I don't know. That might be getting too deep into the
Jelly can
personal
help it.
lore, but but yeah, no, I feel like that that's definitely a lot more in line with how they kind of establish these new characters, if that makes sense. Let's go ahead and go get the shotgun, because I do see this and Resident Evil 3 as kind of a resetting or reestablishing of the continuity of the series. They definitely changed enough about each game to warrant almost splitting the timeline, which, oh my gosh, if you ask any video game fans such as Zelda fans, whenever you split a timeline, that's also splitting the fan base. But I don't know, it just kind of makes sense in my mind. Like, it obviously they've developed this story so much, and you know, they made slight changes to the original game when they came out with the HD remaster, and they kind of changed the entire continuity of the game series when they came out with 0. So it kind of, in my mind, makes sense that these remakes are to be treated as such, not only remakes of the game themselves, but remakes and retellings of the story and establishments of a new kind of continuity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I believe when Capcom first announced and released Resident Evil 2, that was their intention, was to not have it just be seen as a remake, but as a new game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that supports this will clear up any inconsistencies that have been presented by the other
So
games.
nice to see
Yeah.
you.
How are you doing? That
Yeah,
helicopter
and I
was
find it.
flying.
Hopefully, they can
actually-
work some magic.
I'm guessing you don't have
Fix
a
5
phone
and
in one of those
6.
Fancy pockets?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
But how are
That
you
or
doing?
let a sinking ship
You
sink.
know, just surviving.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any luck with your brother?
No, not yet.
Oh my
Claire,
gosh,
don't
their
lose hope.
faces are so good.
I'm sure we're gonna find him.
I love it. Well, just the,
Damn it.
you know, surviving,
Know what that
completely
means.
blank face,
Yeah.
unchanging emotion.
Dinner time.
Claire, I think you should go.
Don't worry about me, Leon. You take care of yourself.
Claire, you need to go. Now.
Okay.
Oh my gosh,
Let's get
it's
through
so
this.
good.
Both of us.
Just this crisp, beautiful apocalypse, and then there's these guys asking, what the heck's a polygon?
Marvin, I've got a situation here. I'm surrounded by zombies. Marvin, do you copy? Marvin!
I personally kind of find it funny because I've played this game so much that I've borderline memorized all of their facial expressions. So it's like whenever they're talking and their face isn't moving, I'm still seeing their mouth and their eyes and, you know, all of those tiny little nuances that
What the?
exist without these specific costumes on, kind of taking place and occurring. So take that as you will, but I find that to be somewhat. Whoa, Jesus! I want that knife back.
Son of a bitch.
Resident Evil 2, the struggle of getting the knife back.
Or like Resident Evil 2, the struggle of memorizing the location of every freaking zombie and making sure they're all dead before you leave a room so they never bug you again. Like this guy, why is he so close all of a sudden?
That was one of the most irritating things to me, was not having an invincible knife.
Oh, you can get one.
Well, I mean, my
You just
first
have
play,
to
my first
fulfill.
play,
You just have to fulfill specific quota, so to speak. What?
I have a little bit of a delay watching the stream on my end, and just how fast you slapped that board up on his face amused to me.
Oh yeah, dude. Every time, dude. Like, I purposely keep boards around, for the sole purpose of ruining every zombie's day.
See, my first playthrough, like the Magnum ammo, I hoarded the boards like a dragon because I didn't know when and where I should use them. So I
Dude,
just
there's only
left
so many
open-
there's only so many windows in this game, and there's a board for every single one of them.
It's a good thing there's unlimited space in that box, is all I have to say.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I miss the most is, do I even have that knife back? Nope, I don't. Okay. I miss the item box in 4, man. It is a real struggle to mess with that kind of bullcrap. Let's go ahead and put one
Yeah,
of these
4
in
you
there.
definitely have to choose what weapons you want to use and just forget every other weapon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting how they made that decision, because didn't they bring item boxes immediately back in 5, if I remember correctly?
I don't know. I can't say one way or the other. They are there in 7.
Yeah, no.
So they are
yeah, no.
back.
They're definitely there in 7. That was...
Oh man. One achievement when I was looking around on the challenges for Resident Evil 2 was
What up,
to,
London?
to not use the item box, and I don't know how that would even be possible.
Yeah, no, I saw that on the list of Resident Evil 3 achievements, and holy cow, would I go insane. There's also an achievement, I think, for beating the entire game with only the knife.
How?
I don't even know. Relying on
is
quick
that-
time magic.
Well, I mean, like, think of Tyrant, though. Like, how are you gonna poke him to death with a knife?
Well, that's the thing. Most of the Nemesis encounters, you can't hurt him all that much. It's a,
Are we talking 3 still?
Yeah, 3.
Oh.
It's a fight or flight situation, and most of the time, if you're sticking around to fight, you ain't really sticking around all too long. You are definitely booking it out of there as soon as possible.
That makes more sense because you don't actually use a gun to beat him in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't... see, that's the thing, though. You have to hit his weak points. Like, he has weak points that you have to hit in order to make him more vulnerable.
Man.
So it kind of doesn't make sense. I think that portion of the game doesn't count. It's like outside of boss fights kind of situation.
Sure hope so.
But yeah, one of the photos opens up this drawer right here, and it gives you a little something. I don't remember specifically what.
Well, now I regret not using them.
Yeah, they're all right. They're definitely things you can survive without.
Well, I mean, I
like
guess
100%.
Yeah, I beat the game without it.
Yeah. See, this liquor always bugs me because he's chilling up on this left wall, but he somehow senses you almost every single time. I think that's the first time I've ever successfully snuck past him without him freaking out and attacking me for whatever reason. It's like you barely touch him.
Never
turning
had a
that
problem
corner,
with
and
the
then he-
liquor out here.
Yeah, it's.
My,
I mean, it's not that bad.
My problem liquor was the one on the first floor, I believe. The one that's added later on.
Oh yeah, yeah, that one's
Near where
that
the
was pretty bad.
lockers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my least favorite.
What's the notes on this? Fish, scorpion,
Yeah,
and water.
I didn't bother killing those zombies in the beginning, and so then I was
And boarding
to-
up the windows.
So then I had to face the consequences of having a bunch of zombies, a liquor, and tyrant
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Yeah. Not today. Sorry. I love little, I say little, but I love Leon's little, like, nuances of, like, now what? Or, like, come on, if you miss shots too much and stuff like that. Like, he's giving himself a little pep talk.
Yeah.
He's just like,
I mean, it helps
push
the
your
game feel
push your
more
friend through the
immersive.
floor.
I mean, think of yourself playing a game. You tell yourself the same exact things.
Man, those guys look like they had a good time. Got ourselves a professional ostrich right there. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you, bugs.
Cracks me. Yeah, one thing that cracks me up about like the Resident Evil 2 zombies is, okay, is the zombie gonna die after one shot or 13 rounds?
The answer is always 13. Whether or not they they move after the one shot is another question.
No,
because these
I've
things
had a couple
are
instances where their head
notorious.
explode after one shot.
See, in my experience, that happens. That normally happens after you have gone through an area once or twice, and it's kind of the leftover zombies. And in my mind, it kind of shows a sort of deterioration of the zombies in a way. It may not be intentional, and it may not
sense.
may not be the best way to do that, but it definitely. Love this classic music. It's hilarious. So intense. Oh! But yeah, it's honestly one of those things that makes the game a little bit more real, because you may get that lucky shot off where there's a little bit more power behind that one bullet that you shot, or you might get screwed over and have to empty an entire clip.
Shit.
So, I'm curious. You fought and killed many different types of enemies in this game. What's your favorite to kill and what's your least favorite to kill?
My favorite to kill, mainly because it's so satisfying when you actually do get to kill them, is probably either the Ivies or the Lickers. And I say the Ivies because it's just so satisfying to sit there and watch them burn. There's just a special feeling that comes when you get your first Ivy kill, and it's definitely one of those things where you aren't really expecting it. Like, you aren't expecting these things to show up and pretty much wreck your entire life as you know it up until that point, because they are a one-hit kill if they grab you, and all they do is try and grab you. So
yeah, I initially thought they were pretty easy until you told me that hitting their weak points didn't kill them, and then I started to hate them. Because I like to pride myself on my steady aim in Resident Evil. And so I was like, these guys are so easy. And yeah, then you broke the news to me.
And I was like, oh, those things, they ain't dead yet. Like, you need to make sure they are dead, and you need to make sure they stay that way. Because otherwise, you are going to be having a bad time. Yeah, and also just the fact that there's so many of them in that one room, it's so annoying. Like, there are near, 5 of them, all within a tight-knit, closed-off space. And it's so annoying dealing with them. Whereas, I don't know, Lickers, I feel like as you know, they're kind of the first big baddie that you're introduced to in this game. They plague you all throughout your stay at the at the police office or police station, and they mess you up, man. Like, they destroy you. They will take you and just ruin your day. And so it honestly, not gonna lie, this medallion never really made sense to me, even when I played the demo, because it's kind of encased in that thinner metal, like it's all rusted and stuff. So it never really made sense to me that it works that way. Where is this punk? Because I know you're here. There you are. Not today. Nope. But no, the Lickers are just kind of oddly satisfying to take care of. It's definitely fun to, hit them in the face with a grenade and deafen them to where they can't hear you, because that's how they hunt, is based off sound. So if you don't make sound, they can't find you. or it's a lot harder for them to find you. So if you are kind of just chilling and chuck a grenade down or a flashbang, you can actually blow their their eardrums out, therefore eliminating them as an enemy to some extent. Obviously, at that point they go feral and they kind of just thrash around and try and hit anything they possibly can.
So it goes underground.
Which is always fun to look at. But once they're deafened, and if you have the
That's our way
Magnum,
out.
it's like 2 shots
Lieutenant
and they're
Brenna!
down. Whereas normally it's like 5 or 6 shots from a Magnum to take them
It's
out.
time to go. Hey, Marvin.
And with how rare those Magnum
need to get you
ammos
to the
are,
hospital
that's
right
that's
now.
quite a difference.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Well, and it's also really
Save
funny
yourself.
because you can
I've
you
got
can
you.
pretty much just go in with a
Look, we can still make it out of here together. Just
with a
it's too late.
oh jeez,
I tried,
with faces.
Leon, but I couldn't stop it. We can't let this thing spread.
That's Leon's concerned
It's on
face,
you.
you know.
Yep.
Just go.
I understand.
See, it's very interesting. You know, obviously I hadn't played the first one, I hadn't played the second one before, so it was my assumption that, you know, Marvin had kind
Won't let
of
you down, Marvin.
tried to help. That Shadow, though, had kind of tried to help. Like it was somewhat obvious that he tried to help a fellow police officer, but it wasn't obvious who he had tried to help. So when they have him show up in 3, and all of a sudden it's Brad as a zombie, and Marvin is kind of having that you know, I think that classic disbelief of a survivor versus a zombified person that they knew and treated as a friend. It was, in my opinion, it added another depth to Marvin as a character, because he was kind of just there as the support character
Guy to bail
for
you
this
out.
opening sequence. Yeah, kind of, sorta. He was like, here I'm bailing you out. Here's a knife, and don't forget about me. Like, just move on, man. Like, I am unimportant at this point in the story. But then they were like, oh, yeah, you know Marvin? Yeah, this is how he got bit. An entire year later, you finally figure that out. And it adds such depth to it, in my opinion.
It would have been nice to have him as a survivor story, like they do the gun shop owner.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I think it would have been nice for them to do something like that, and they might do it for Resident Evil 3. And you know, just kind of have Marvin play through this opening scenario of escaping the police office or police station. I think that would be interesting. You know, he ends up drawing his gun on Brad and killing Brad, and then he proceeds to go find all the medallions and whatnot, and you get to play through essentially what we just did with Leon, but as Marvin. I think that would be an interesting survivor story. And then maybe do another one where it is you play as Brad, kind of holding up in that restaurant that Jill leaves him in.
That would be pretty cool. There's a lot they could do for
Gotta
3
take it
now
down.
that you're talking about all that. I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm excited to
'cause-
see what they do bring to the table.
Because it was like almost a full month from when the game came out before they actually put in the survivor stories. Like, they had teased them and whatnot, but nobody had played them up until that point. Oh jeez, I hate I hate fighting this guy in these tight corridors. No, sit down. And so it was, yeah, it's definitely interesting. There we go, we got him. It'd be interesting to see what they did. Like maybe even do one where you play as, I forget his name, but the black guy in Resident Evil 3 that ends up getting axed by Nemesis, or rather gets a tentacle through his chest.
Somebody's watching.
Yeah, I would say Tyrell, but
Yeah, I think it was Tyrell.
That might be racist? Okay.
Tyrell too, but
I'm pretty confident in it, but at the same time, I don't want to sound racist.
It was that or Bill. I'm sure Bill sounds very reasonable choice.
Don't even try and dig us out of this hole that we just put ourselves into. Oh, jeez. Or, you know, even playing as the captain. Like, have a little survival on the train scenario.
Okay, it was Tyrell. I looked it up. We're safe. It's Tyrell.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we're actually safe, but at least
we
our
can shift
memory
the
is
blame to Capcom.
At least our memory is better than we remember. But no, like, I feel like they introduced so many unique and interesting characters in 3 that you kind of just you get introduced to them, and then you're all like, all right, well, in about 5 seconds you're gonna die, because you're just cannon fodder for Nemesis to tear through, and you know there's no real consequence to it. Well, not connection, but consequence to, you know, being introduced to these characters. You're introduced to these characters, and you know, outside of Nikolai and Carlos, you know, every single one of them is gonna die.
Yeah, it seems to be a common tale in Resident Evil.
I mean, Resident Evil 1, it had Rebecca, and she survives technically. As in, you go hang out with her for a few seconds, and then get to the final area, and then she just disappears altogether.
Damn.
And one, Barry lives, doesn't he?
Yeah, Barry lives. Like, Barry is alive.
The only one. Yeah.
He's one of the characters in Resident Evil Revelations 2 that you can play as. It's him and Claire. And then I believe his daughter's in it too, which is very interesting because that's his character motivation in 1 is to protect his daughter and wife.
Stay sharp.
Like, he's being blackmailed by Wesker to ensure their safety. So it's very interesting that they actually introduced her as a character. I don't know if she's playable, but I'm pretty sure she's like the support character for when you play as Barry.
Sorry.
I believe it's the game is 2 players, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is playable.
Surprised you made it this far.
Yeah.
At least I believe it's split screen.
Yeah, huh?
I won't swear
What's
to
going
it.
on?
I've actually never
Sorry,
played Revelations
that information's classified.
Where you going?
Yeah, we'll get to it eventually.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah,
Stop
I gotta
asking
rely on
questions
you to
and
get
the
through
hell
the
out.
crummy ones. Okay, so there's an additional mode which is split screen,
Hey,
but
I'm
the
not done
game
talking
can
to
be
you.
a single player.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Matt, speaking of favorite and least favorite things to fight, dogs. I hated fighting the dogs in Resident Evil. They are the worst.
In the first one or the second one? Or just in general?
In general, but particularly in this, in Resident Evil 2.
So the funny thing about dogs, and you'll kind of see here in a second, you could just run past them, dude. You don't actually have to fight them ever.
I don't know. I must be bad at
I think
running.
I think you just hate dogs, honestly, and you subconsciously just want to kill them, and so you purposely run slower. You're all like, "Ooh, try and catch me," and then you just turn on
Got a
real
little
quick
bacon
with
hanging
that
out of my
shotgun.
pocket.
Yeah. You got that classic beef jerky chilling in your pocket. Gonna chuck it to the Rottweiler. Action going on.
Man. Yeah, maybe, because I always did save some shotgun ammo just to give them a special treat.
I mean,
But yeah, I just
what's not
don't
to love
like
about
enemies.
pellets?
Fast enemies are too hard.
well, in my opinion, no, I didn't need this. In my opinion, the lickers are way faster than the dogs and way more of a threat.
But I can
Dogs-
move
dogs-
slow and not be bothered.
That's true, but dogs, if you're just running in a straight line, they won't touch you. It's great.
Yeah, like playing
Also, I
Survivors. What?
don't like this bullcrap. I don't like this bullcrap where they're like in the cages.
What?
It honestly reminds me of the movie, and there's a scene in the first movie where the dogs are freaking out and barking because they can smell the virus before any of the humans can. Like they smell it get released kind of situation. And there's a scene a little bit later on where you see the dogs in the cages still, post-infection, and then they kind of smell the group that came in, the group of survivors, or special ops people, whatever you want to call them, come in, and they actually start, pushing their faces through the cage. And it actually shows, their faces get torn up and stuff. Obviously, it's not real dogs going through this, but
The CGI.
Well, no, it's not even CGI. It's practical. I believe they actually made like a model of the dog head. And is this the cockroach one? No, it's not.
Oh, interesting.
And like pushed it through the cage and had like blood and stuff like flesh get caught up in the actual bars or wires, like at that point wires of the cage door. So I always kind of get not necessarily PTSD from the dogs being caged up like that in this game, but no, stop it. Down, Bessie. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that like values animal life over human life, but if anything is having part of its face torn off by being forced essentially through a set of wires, and it's obviously not fake, it kind of just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there also a scene where people literally get diced up by lasers?
Yeah, but that's obviously fake, because the only one that you actually see get diced up is the black dude, who's the commander, because he thinks he's hot crap for jumping up and being all like, I could dodge these lasers, and then he gets checkered patterned, and it's obviously fake, like it's 100% CGI. So I don't know, it didn't hit as much growing up as a young spry teenager when I watched those movies.
See, I personally hated the Resident Evil movies. I hate that franchise because it, I just found it completely different than the games, which when I was a kid, I watched it expecting to see what I saw in the games.
Yeah,
and so,
yeah, see
and
all
then,
the classic.
when I was
classic
older, I
characters.
just thought it looked cheesy and cringy.
Yeah, which honestly, it's one of those it's one of those situations where it's so bad it's good, in my opinion. Like, it's one of those movie franchises, and it's actually pretty interesting because if you pre-ordered 3, at least on Xbox, Resident Evil 3, they gave you the last movie for free.
Hello?
Like, I have the last movie for free.
It's the last one. Oh, the final chapter. Is that
The
what it's called?
the
Hello,
final
human?
chapter. Yeah.
Long enough. Are we the
So,
last ones alive?
if I recall, the only reason they kept making them is because they did so well in
Those irons.
China.
Irons.
Yeah.
You mean Chief Irons? Is he still around?
Kind of like
Yeah,
the
that's-
Transformers
Hopefully somebody's
movies.
dinner by now.
What do you mean by that?
It's the
Yeah.
bastard that locked me in here.
I'm sure he had a
um,
good reason.
He did.
But no, honestly,
I was about to blow the whistle on his dirty
the
ass.
first 3 Resident Evil movies
thing,
are
yes.
actually pretty good and follow, at least 1 and 2 follow the game
make a deal.
somewhat,
Unlock this cell and I'll give you this. There's no other way out of that parking
in the
garage.
sense
Believe
that
me.
it,
Sorry.
you know, it has the
can't
mansion,
do
it
that.
has the
I have to
lab
talk to the
underneath,
chief
and then
Look,
it has Raccoon
we're both
City in the
prisoners in the
second
station.
one, and Nemesis,
Play
and
nice,
you know, Jill
help each other
Valentine,
out.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. See,
What? What's coming?
Come on.
at that
Don't be
point
an
though, I
asshole.
feel like they're just
Hey, you need
shoehorning
this.
in stuff from the
Just get me
games
the
to try
fuck
and
outta
get
here.
fans of the games to watch the show.
I mean, yes. Like,
Oh my god.
at least
Who is
the
that?
first movie is
It's
pretty
just me.
unique. In the fact that they like,
Away.
they literally
even know what happened.
shoehorned in the zombies
Happened
and
so
the
quick.
mansion, and that's about it.
I told you to get out of here.
Like, as far as things
Wouldn't
from the
want to end
first
up like
game.
Ben, would you?
You knew him?
And then in the second game, they shoot
He's an
in a
informant.
little bit more, you know, with Nemesis and
information
Jill,
used in the
and
investigation.
it taking place
So he
all
said
in
that's
Raccoon
true.
City. But I
The
feel like
part
it
with Jill
worked.
and
You can't
Nemesis,
keep walking away from me.
I feel like was too
I don't even know your
much
name.
just for the try and get video game
I'm
fans.
Leon
Like,
Kennedy.
especially since they tried to, well, didn't try. They used
Find a
Jill's
way out,
classic
Leon.
Resident Evil
Before it's
3
too late.
outfit.
Then we'll talk.
It just felt
Yeah.
like it didn't
Name's
fit
Ada.
the mood.
I mean, dude, at least they gave her like
guess the
solid
deal's on.
combat boots that time around instead of like Gucci boots like she has in the original game.
Have you ever noticed how in Resident Evil, if a female character wears high heels, they're a bad guy? but if they wear actual like shoes, they're not a bad guy.
I'm trying to think of any other characters that wear high heels other than Ada.
Just
And you know the obvious bad guys. Oh yeah, Jessica.
no, there's
I
a
forgot
third
about
one
her.
I'm trying to think
I
of as
honestly
well.
kind of blocked her. The late,
Just
the
high
like
heels.
the one chick in 5 that has the hots for Wesker, and then turns into a giant blob. Spoiler alert.
Oh, and 5.
Yeah. Cause she's wearing like the nice white dress and has the nice purse and wears the high heels, like is just going all out to try and
That's
you
been.
know,
I've only beat
flaunt her
Resident Evil
wealth.
5 one time,
yeah.
and I think that's one time enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I-
Maybe I will go back and play it again.
I don't think the mom in Resident Evil 7 wears high heels.
You got me there. I don't think she wears shoes at all.
Yeah. Exactly. See?
But one can assume that she was wearing high heels at one point. So
Well, that's like saying one can assume Jill was wearing high heels at one point, so therefore she must be a bad guy.
Well, have you played it? Never mind.
Yeah. I have.
We
To
can't
answer your
be-
question, I have.
We can't
But-
be giving out spoilers. Not everybody's seen it.
You may be wondering why I wasted that, and the answer is simple: to make more room in my inventory. But no, see, that's the thing, is like, I'm pretty sure Claire at one point has worn high heels, like, technically, Sherry's mom doesn't wear high heels. Gosh dang it, what is...
Sherry's mom. I wonder, how do you think she died? Like, my theory is she had a punctured lung from her rib cage. That would be my guess.
Oh yeah, 100% something inside of her got muffed. Hardcore. Wow. How have I forgotten which switches to flip here?
That was one part that that just did not make sense to me, was with the mom, how she's like, oh, I'm on death's door, right? Oh, proceeds to
And then
get up,
sprints out.
and then
Yeah.
and then next time
Yeah.
you see her, oh, leave me, I'm dead. Like,
Yeah.
What?
And then depending on who you're playing as, it's a leave me, I'm dead, or a proceeds to sprint out and then shoot Ada.
yeah. Yeah, that's so stupid.
Hi, doggy.
Like, I mean, one thing that, like, I understand it from, like, a practical, view, but, like, how
See, look
Leon
at this. You can just run
and
past
Claire,
these punks.
how Leon and Claire, they both have the same, fight against G,
Yeah.
like, how that's identical. It's like, it just feels kind of lazy, but I mean, you could argue that, hey, could have happened this way, or it could have happened that way, depending on who got there first.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And-
I'm glad they gave them their own different final boss with Claire.
Yes. Yeah. No.
having final G.
Final boss fight was definitely needed, and I honestly feel like the entire like the fourth G or third G, sorry, G third form was one of those fights where it was like, I mean, they could have just put a normal tyrant in there, and he would have been, in my opinion, just as intimidating at that point in the game still, as the third G form. Like, the tyrant throughout this game is not the worst enemy that you go up against, but he is the most formidable. And so, you know, literally doing a survival of the fittest situation with the tyrant in kind of that scenario. Oh, it's this one. This is the one that I want to board up for right now. But no, there's definitely like a sense of dread whenever the tyrant shows up, unless you're playing Claire's playthrough, because you know he's going to be hunting you all throughout the game. As Leon, he kind of just has that little crush on Leon, you know. Can't get enough of him. Can't get enough of that pretty boy.
Yeah, but I mean, it really does help. Like, when I was playing it, my wife, she loved it whenever Tyrant was around, because she thinks it's scarier when you can't kill it.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I prefer to be able to do something to benefit myself. But I didn't really have enough ammo to be dropping him through his knee every 5 seconds, so I would just have to run around him or take one for the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, I think that's one of the interesting things about Tyrant is, you know, we're about to run into him here pretty soon after I use this key the last time that you need to. I don't want to go talk to Marvin. He scares me now.
Oh, so sad.
This is so
Can
sad.
I get an F in the chat for my boy Marvin?
You and the one other person watching the stream. But no, like, there's just a certain level of horror that gets added to an enemy that you can stop but can't kill. And that's what I think helps Tyrant survive as, you know, he will probably go down in history as one of the most iconic horror enemies. Just for the sheer intimidation factor that he carries every time he plays. Oh, jeez! We're okay. We're fine.
Nothing to see here.
See, you got me talking, and that's what I normally don't do with the liquors that close.
Oh man, I hate those stupid liquors. Also, this part annoyed me because I'm sure at one point you've dealt with a button that has had the hard cap ripped off, like whether it was a keyboard or something. You can freaking press on that rubber part and it'll work just fine. That irritated me. It's like, what do I need the key for?
Yeah, but where's the puzzle?
I'm just saying. They could have like had the wire shorted or something, kind of like they did with the jail cells, and just had you fix it with that or something.
But at that point, that's too many repeats of the same puzzle, and I think that's one of the things they were. What am I doing wrong here? Yeah. Nope. That. What? Okay, so it's that. Nope. Oh my gosh. This one? No. This one. Okay, so boop, boop, boop. Boop. Nope. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Boop. There we go.
Yeah, when I picked up that, I didn't understand what it was. I assumed that once I got close enough to a certain safe, I would use that to open it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I was like, maybe I should just examine it, because you should examine everything in Resident Evil, and that I was like, oh, I just pushed the buttons.
Yeah. Definitely. Get wrecked. We never have to go to that floor ever again. Actually, yeah, we do. Dang it.
Oh man.
Actually, no, we don't.
See that's one thing that I loved about an advantage Resident Evil 4 has is the zombies aren't nearly as agile or Las Plagas, or like they don't have their target lock like they do in Resident Evil 2, so you can just move out of the way of their incoming attack pretty easy, whereas you get hit a lot easier in this one, I feel like, just because the game's more fluid.
Yeah.
And not so linear.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh boy,
But I
it's
also
getting to be
feel-
that time of day.
Sun's getting real low, buddy.
No, I'm saying our special friend.
Jesus.
Oh great. What am I supposed to do?
When I played through this, I made the mistake of going to the boiler room first, not exploring the storage room, and so I got Mr. X to follow me around while I was in that tiny dark area with tons of zombies, trying to get out of there, running for dear life, finding locked doors, and oh man, straight up not having a good time.
Oh jeez. Okay, I need to get rid of something. I don't need 2 knives, right? No.
Not yet.
No.
I mean, the boiler room is quite close if you want, if you just walked over there, but that also comes with a cost.
Yeah.
And he's paying the price.
Damn it.
Of course I am.
Gosh dang it, Claire! Ladder
What?
was just fine until... All I'm saying is, Claire seemed to go up and down it just fine, so maybe she loosened it up, because as soon as my boy Leon tries once, he's falling down.
I think that's more or less because of a weight difference, not a continuity difference.
What do you mean? I figured Oleon was $130.
Nah, dude. Heck no. Not with all that police gear on. Open the door!
Son of a bitch.
There's definitely a form of satisfaction that comes from popping these zombies in the head. Like it's pretty good.
Especially when it's an instant kill on them.
Oh yeah, like those
Not
those
better.
instant gibs are amazing.
I wish in this game it would show, like, there was a way to see how much time you spent in a single
The item
area.
box.
Because, well, I would have I would have probably my 4th highest time in this room because how many times I ran and camped here from Tyrant.
Oh, from Tyrant.
And
Yeah,
then
see, what I
probably
do is...
What do you do?
I draw him out like this.
Do it the smart way.
Jesus Christ!
And then I wait here. Gotta aim right for his face. For when he comes through this stupid door. Come on, bud. Here he comes. Come on. The frick are you doing? Thank you.
This is insane.
and then you shoot his hat off. He gets hyper aggressive, and then he tries to punch you, and then you just run like a little girl, a little schoolgirl. You've run away.
It's a good thing these doors open each way. That would be a nightmare if they only open.
Oh my. Honestly, I am.
Like if
I am
it was
personally
pushed to open.
Oh my gosh, can I get down these stairs? I am personally amazed by the fact that these doors are advanced as they are. For supposedly being made in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question for you. Who is the scummiest person in Resident Evil 2?
In Resident Evil 2, oh, that is easy. It is 100% Chief Irons.
Alright. That's what I wanted to hear.
Like, if it's anyone else, please tell me. Because it's definitely not anyone else.
He takes the cake. He takes the cake. I would
See you,
say
loser.
second place probably has to go to Mrs. Burt.
Yeah, Dr. Birkins. Yeah, I think a close third would definitely be Ada. For obvious reasons.
Yeah, yes, but yeah. I mean, manipulation is pretty scummy. It's easy for me to justify it though because of how much she helps Leon as well.
Yeah.
Can't live with her, can't live without her.
We're running the gauntlet!
What an absolute mad lad.
What?
Just the liquors. So you know how some like Doom, for instance, there's no pausing. Like when you go into your item management, the game's still going, or
no matter what.
Yeah, or like online games, for instance.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what a nightmare Resident Evil 7 would be if, while you were putting it, like picking a lock or getting a turning the dials or opening a lock, everything could still wail on you? What a nightmare that would be.
Oh my gosh, I would want to blow my brains out. Honestly, kind of proud of the fact that I just made it through that freaking gauntlet involving a licker, the tyrant, and another licker in such a respectable manner. And so quick
you've
manner.
done
Like,
pretty
that,
good.
That was a pretty quick jaunt. Okay, this part always hates me because for whatever freaking reason, Leon sucks at moving these things. If your camera angle is off by like 1 millimeter, and he's all like, I don't know how these ladders thing works. Like, you crazy?
See, the thing I had a biggest problem with is like, if you move all the ones that are movable, you have like it's like an 8-inch gap. It's like, really, Leon, we couldn't just skip a little?
Yeah. Yeah, that always kind of bugs me whenever games use that cop-out of like, oh, you can't jump over it. And it's like, yes, I definitely could. You crazy?
Like, dude,
who do you think I am?
I could trip and fall and cover that gap.
Honestly, once you kind of make it past this part, it is smooth sailing, in my opinion.
The clock tower, though, is where I probably have the second highest time spent in a room, because I
just chill here.
Well, I thought that the
You
tyrant could come
tease
in.
him.
Well, I would hide because I did not want to deal with him in there, and so I just stand there, motionless, just hoping he wouldn't come in until I was sure that he wasn't nearby, and then I would do it because I'm like, this is a noisy room. I don't want to. And then later on, I learned he's programmed to not even go in that room. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
nice. But yeah, after seeing the sanctity of the main hall being
Be
ruined,
usurped.
I didn't trust anywhere.
Hope I don't have to write a report on this.
Yeah, that's why I was scared of Tyrant coming. Not exactly the quietest.
Now, I freaking love the fact that if you play this game with headphones, it changes the dynamic of it so much. Because you can hear him, like, in the back
Left
of
and right.
Yeah, in the back of the headphone speakers.
Yeah,
And it's
games
not,
like
not
this
even left or
that
right,
I
but,
would-
like, you can hear him in every single direction that he can come from.
Yeah.
And it just
like
makes it so
games like-
good.
Like this definitely make having a good headset worth the money.
Like, I can hear him being a prick walking behind me right now, trying to bust through doors, trying to find me. And I'm just like, nah, I ain't having it. Not today. You go
Yeah,
work
it's
somebody
definitely
else. Tyrant.
easier to avoid him. You don't have to backtrack. And you've killed all the zombies, but you don't have to worry about them.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I am playing on assist mode, which makes it significantly easier. Because I just wanna cruise through this thing. Like, I don't wanna have to deal with. This is me just goofing off right now. I don't wanna have to deal with this bullcrap.
On assist mode, does that count for speedrun challenges? I assume that would only be normal and hardcore.
Yeah, I think it's normal and hardcore, but still, like, I ain't necessarily speedrunning. I'm just honestly playing this game the way I normally do nowadays. Like, I have
mean,
no mode for this
once
game
you got
outside of speedrunning.
Once you got the path down, I mean, it's really no point to dilly-dallying.
Yeah, that is
You're gonna go
100% true.
play one final game of checkers with Marvin before he bites the dust or something? Like, I mean,
Hey,
what
you
else
never
is there to do, really? Hey Marvin, you like Scrabble?
Now I think at this point he's more of a operation kind of guy.
Yeah. Probably could use some operation. Oh man.
Thanks, buddy.
I
should probably put
were
that.
my friend.
What are they after?
That's not good.
I was so mad because I only died 4 times in Leon's playthrough, and one of them was right here because I turned the wrong way.
Get wrecked. So, fun fact, you can't actually kill all these zombies beforehand. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no, that's the... Okay, I definitely hit the left bumper, but that's fine. We're doing alright. We're doing good. We're doing good. We made it. We living. Oh my gosh, dude. Imagine if freaking kids nowadays were the writers of this game. At this point in time, as soon as that tyrant picks up Leon by the neck, he would have been like, choke me harder. Choke me, daddy.
Oh gosh. What? That is not where I saw that
Save me,
coming.
Russ. That's twice.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't realize you were keeping score.
Look, this isn't a
Escalated
game.
real quick.
Nothing dies down here.
Like, I personally fear for the rising internet generation to start writing
Yeah,
video
okay.
games because they're gonna do stupid
Yeah.
crap like that.
And this. I was hoping you could explain what's on it.
I sure hope not. God.
Maybe.
Ugh.
Hopefully
I
the
mean,
Japanese
Resident Evil-
keep it nice and clean.
Let's get out of here.
Japanese keep it clean, are you kidding me? In Resident Evil 4, if you aim at freaking Ashley's crotch, she'll call you a pervert.
Yeah,
And
but that's just
Luis
like
Sierra, oh, I see you also have ballistics.
yeah. What does my position as the president's daughter have to do with anything? All right, calm down, princess. I'm not a princess. I'm the president's daughter. Like, I swear the writing in that game was made by a 5-year-old.
See, like, it's funny though, because like, the beginning of the game, the dialogue's pretty normal, but then like,
Ben didn't.
Leon's like dialogue
What
with
exactly are you looking for?
More info on the people
midget, I
responsible.
can't remember his name.
Salazar.
No, not, is that
Yeah, Salazar's the
Road's
midget,
out.
or the
Going through that
yeah,
gunshot
oh
looks like
yeah,
a
Lord
long way.
impaired
Sadler's the other
individual.
guy. Yeah,
yeah, Lord Sadler's the
yes,
actual.
height
like,
impaired individual. Bad guy, yeah. But yeah, Salazar. He, his and Leon's dialogue. Oh, the no
when
thanks,
he's all like, we should.
bro.
Yeah, we share the same blood. You could join us, brother. No thanks, bro. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Like, I realized that, like, in 2004, that was more commonly accepted, but in 2020, it's just like,
Oh yeah, see,
please.
this is
Stop.
interesting because this letter was not here at when this game came out. They patched this in after Resident Evil 3 came out to fix the continuity.
Wait,
I'm
really?
not gonna hurt you.
I said,
Yeah.
don't move.
I'm just passing through. I'm gonna ask you to
Oh,
lower that weapon.
Yeah.
that's so. I had no idea because it was there.
Right back out the
Because
way
I
you came
think
in.
I did this part like the day,
Your daughter needs help, sir.
like
3
the
came out?
day after, or yeah, like
How to deal with my
right
daughter.
around that time.
Drop it.
Because I
Yeah.
think you
Well-
No, wait.
had just finished streaming
aside.
3 when I
We need
started.
to terminate her before she
When I
turns.
finished it or finished 2 or something.
So,
like that.
so another interesting thing
Fucking
is when the Resident Evil 3 demo came out. In fact, they might have put that letter in when the demo came out because they changed the Resident Evil 2
Emma?
demo to
I
where
know, I
if
told
you
you to
go
stay
in and
put.
chill outside at the front gate of the police station for a little while, you can hear Nemesis walking around outside screaming stars. Like, you never see him, but you can hear him. But they didn't put it in this game because that technically takes place. This game technically takes place after that portion.
You're a cop. You're supposed to know
How
something.
interesting.
How did this happen?
You know, one thing I was thinking is like everybody always makes like fan art.
sweet
They
little
always put like Chris and Jill as the team. And it's like
Yeah.
apart from like a brief instance in Revelations, they never actually are like work together. Like they're separated almost the entire time in 1, and then they're not together at all in 5 or in 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's heavily implied that they worked together, you know, before the events of 1, and obviously after the events of 1, working at the BSAA. And there's a DLC that you can do for 5, where it's a prequel to 5 before
You know,
before they get separated.
it's one thing to keep the truth from
So
me.
like it's
Why
them
him?
hunting down hunting down Wesker at another mansion and stuff, which actually technically takes place
I wanna find
after
out what's
4,
happening.
so I'll probably
And stop
actually
whoever's
play
behind
that
it.
after I finish 4,
Helping people
before
like
I
them?
actually start the main campaign.
That's why
in
I
5.
joined the Force.
That way you keep the order.
Yeah, keep the timeline. Yeah, timeline secure.
My mission is to take.
Because that's why I did
down
Revelations, because apparently Revelations
They may
takes
not make it
place before 4.
Whatever it takes to save this city.
Yeah, which seems strange
Oh,
to me because I feel like the tech they used in Revelations was
Is
far more
ridiculous. Yeah.
advanced. Yeah.
And see,
It's like-
that's why I like this game, because they didn't evolve any of the technology
Umbrella
beyond that
Corporation?
of technology in the
They're a pharmaceutical company
1990s.
secretly making bioweapons.
I
Like,
don't know,
all
that
of the
laptop
tech-
seemed pretty
It
thin.
turns people into indestructible monsters.
That explains the horrible things I've seen.
Not necessarily.
It was more
But-
of a, it was more of a
But they
joke.
made an actual effort to make sure everything looked like it was from the 90s.
And that's why
In fact,
Yeah.
Claire's bike is based off of a 1998 Harley Davidson bike.
Based on what you've said?
Yeah, because I mean, if you had today's modern
Gee,
things, I mean,
thanks.
it would change this game entirely. Because I mean,
real scientists being down
Leon,
here.
he's like, what? What's going on? Here, let me call ahead. Or here, let me check my phone. That or they'd have
Come
to
on.
do the class
Sewers are run by the city.
Resident
How could they
or
have a
horror
facility
movie,
without the
horror
authorities knowing?
game move, and
Where
my
they just-
cell, I don't have a cell signal.
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Jesus! That an earthquake?
I sure as hell hope
Yeah. I'm really excited to see where the series goes in Resident Evil 8. I'm excited to see how they
Actually,
how they
give me
do
that.
it after that.
Yeah.
Like as much as I
Oh.
would love a remake of I want to see where the story goes after 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I personally would love if they kind of just got into a groove of every other year situation. Obviously, people were clamoring for a remake of 3 after how well this one turned out. And so I would be completely okay if they were like, all right, every other year you'll get a remake, and then every other year we're putting a new game in the series.
You sure this is the right way?
Could they put out games
Unfortunately.
that often?
I
Is
mean, they technically
Capcom's
did with
studio
this.
large enough?
Wait there.
I guarantee you that they started working on a Resident Evil 8 as soon as 7 was finished. And then they had the idea to work on the remakes.
Leon!
Oh, it'd be
Get
pretty
out of
cool
there!
if Resident Evil 8. I'd like to see how that performs on the Series X, because I'm sure. Because one thing with making these remakes is they're very small games.
Holy shit!
Even Resident Evil 7, is a small game, small area. But
Yeah.
with the Series X capabilities,
What the-
they
what?
could really bring in some cool dimensions they haven't been able to explore in previous installments. Because Resident Evil 1, Tiny Mansion, Resident Evil 2, you branch out a little more. Then Resident
Yeah.
Evil 3, I mean, more or less just Raccoon City.
You
still.
sure this is the right way?
Yeah.
Resident
Well,
Evil 4,
and
Unfortunately.
supposedly in the remake they cut tons of content from 3.
there.
Supposedly. And
I'm
made
sure
it
it's just
way
fanboys
shorter than it was
whining.
originally. I mean, it is, but apparently there's an entire thing with the clock tower and all this stuff and all that. It seems like there were a
Get out of
few
there!
areas that they just cut out due to just not fitting the overall story that they wanted to kind of tell.
But I mean,
makes sense.
the story should come first over remaking it. Because, I mean, if that's something that didn't fit in the original, when you remake it, you're not going to include the same errors. You're going to remove and polish. But and
What
like
the
I was
heck?
saying,
Why
like
is
in
this
Resident
guy
Evil,
catching up to me so fast? He's so fast.
I don't know. But yeah, Resident Evil 4, you move on to like like a whole village and like castles and different areas. Then Resident Evil 5, you go down to Africa and you have a pretty big area as well. And I imagine 6 has a decent sized area.
Yeah, six has a lot of various sized areas.
And then 7, they go back to a small area again. So I'm curious to see what they'll do with 8, if they'll keep a small area like they have.
Chew on that, you overgrown son of a bitch.
No, there's never been any BOW spiders, have there?
Technically, there have. In the first game,
Leon, up
there's
here.
spiders.
There are. I was trying to think
Yep.
back
Just
to the
get
first
up
one, and
here.
all I
Yeah,
can
'cause
remember
you-
were dogs and birds.
They have dogs, or
say I
Cerberus
didn't warn
as
you.
they are called.
You said the virus turned
as
people
far as
into
code names
monsters,
goes.
not reptiles.
They have the Cerberus, the Chimera, which is the like cockroach, the hunters, and the sharks, the crows, and the spiders.
Yeah, I don't remember the spiders for the life of me.
They're down. I mean, they're kind of all over the place, but they're primarily down
So let me get this straight.
in the
Umbrella
mine
sells
shaft area.
monsters
You
like
fight
that
the really
to
big
who?
mine shaft one.
Our military?
In
Somebody
or
else's?
down there.
They don't sell the monsters.
Additionally,
they sell the viruses that make them.
they also had the
And
snake,
that is who makes the
or
viruses.
Hush.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
Yawn.
there's a
Sorry,
snake.
Yawn.
And that is far more
Yawn's
dangerous.
the snake. And then they have the giant plant as well. Plant 42 or whatever it is.
And then it cracked me up. Resident Evil 0, what was it supposed to be, a scorpion, but it just looked like a big lobster.
You can run, Annette.
No, it's a scorpion.
It looked like a lobster.
Its secret weapon.
I
mean,
couldn't take it serious.
It looked like a lobster because the stupid camera angles never actually showed its tail, except for the initial cutscene that it showed up in. But it's definitely a scorpion.
Best cutscene in that game is Billy's dive shot to shoot the
Oh my
the
gosh.
one slug.
The flying slugs. Or flying leeches.
Oh gosh. Oh man, the Wesker mode though. That made me happy to see. Wesker's always been a long-time favorite of mine, and to see him get dealt dirty like that. Oh boy.
What do you mean dealt dirty? He's perfect.
Death stare.
Blows up their head. So good.
So bad. Dumbest thing I'd ever seen. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, what if they remake 4? I'd be thrilled to see what, because I assume they'll include Mercenaries mode because it was so popular.
Yeah.
And I'm sure pretty popular for people to, streamers to stream as well. But it would be so much fun to be able to do that with improved combat handling. Because like, they added lots of different playable characters. Just being able to actually play a smooth Albert Wesker would be awesome.
Yeah, it borderline be like
Always been
freaking
good at running, Annette. Persistent bastard, aren't you?
It straight up be a it'd be like the 4th survivor mode, or yeah, but like imagine making it multiplayer too. Holy crap, that would be amazing.
That would be interesting. There is a small part of me that's a little hesitant towards the multiplayer aspect of Resident Evil, like, because I feel like it's like the being alone kind of adds to the horror of it. Because like when you're with Ada, like the game lost any scariness to me, but being alone, I think that's a whole lot scarier.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting about this game that I don't think they really captured all too well in the remake of 3 is you can almost split the game into 2 different genres within itself. The first half, up until you meet your partner, Ada
Bravo.
for Leon and
Gonna burn
Sherry
alive
for
now.
Claire.
You'll never get your filthy
It's
hands on the
very
key.
much a survival
I'm
horror
not the only
game.
one after it.
And it's very much a
You realize
limited supplies, limited knowledge.
won't
Like,
die
you don't
alone.
know what's going on. You don't know what's going on in the corner. You don't know what to expect. And then...
Goes to action,
And then-
action
yeah,
horror.
then it goes to kind of the action horror that everybody's kind of used to with 4 and 5 and 6. And 3 kind of, I feel like, missed that beat by starting it right off the bat with Nemesis. And obviously they needed to introduce the big baddie fairly quickly, and I'm glad they did, but there never was a moment in 3 where I was
That bitch knows
scared.
what she's doing.
And there was never a moment where I was, like, straight up afraid of what was around the corner. Whereas with this game, like, you're walking around that police station, you have no clue what's going to come out of the corner, or, you know, what liquor is
Through
going to
that window.
murder your face. Like, you have no idea what's going to be happening.
Enough
And
with this
so
cat
it
and mouse
really
game.
The game is over.
was a unique meld
lost.
of classic Resident Evil versus
Tell me,
new Resident
is your
Evil,
husband still
and
alive?
it fit
Or did
really
you kill him
well in my
so you could take
in my
credit
opinion.
for G?
Interesting theory.
Yeah,
You don't
Dude.
cooperate?
so they did a really good job with 2.
Oh yeah. Leon, open your eyes. Oh wait, never mind. It's so good.
It's so
Where's my
nice to
blood?
see the improvements. The coat on him was really nice too. Oh, those ears! Oh my gosh, those ears!
Dude,
Hey,
How-
he
how
has
did we-
hands like Link from Ocarina 64.
Ada? Where are you?
yeah. The yeah hands, as I like to call them.
Like, just to focus on graphics for a second, it's amazing how far graphics have come in just a short
yeah.
2 decades.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Like,
Honestly,
to think that you've got like a game like Ocarina back on the 64, where it was like playing that as a kid, I didn't think the graphics were. Well, granted, I had the GameCube version, the collector's edition or whatever that came, but I didn't think the graphics were bad. And then like to compare it to this or like the Batman Arkham Knight, which unless you had a high-end computer, you could not run it. It's like how did we get from here to there so fast? It's just mind-blowing to me.
yeah. Well, I forget what the statistic is, but there's pretty much a exponential growth that is going to occur with technology and is occurring with technology. And pretty much what it boils down to is, you know, we're going to have such crazy advances in technology in the next like 5 years compared to the last 20. Like the next 5 years is going to have more technological advancements and more technological growth than the last 20 did. You know, I'm sure there's some statistic out there
compounding
that I'm
because it compounds on itself.
Yeah, exactly. So it just
continues. I mean, you improve one aspect, you can use it to improve another.
Yeah, and it literally just, you know, brings life to itself in a sense, and brings progress to itself. And it's not just video games, which is great. Like it's every field of technology has this benefit and this. Bro, I know you're there. Come on, get up, get down, get boogie.
I hated those guys. This was my fourth and final death right here.
Don't touch me! No, you don't get to touch me. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. But no, like, and I think this game is a situation where, you know, one of the biggest fears about video games is the uncanny valley and getting stuck in that valley.
Interesting.
And honestly, this game was the first game where I played it and was like, that looks like real life. Like, those look like the actual people. These eyes don't look dead to me. And this is peak performance right now. And obviously that's not true. Is it R? I always remember. Or always forget. RCK? RYK? RXK? RXJ?
I thought it was like SYK or S some. SCK.
SCK?
Try SZK.
I'm doing SCK. I mean SXK?
Maybe.
It's ammo anyways. I don't need it.
I'm coming, Ada.
Give me that map. Thank you.
Yeah. See what the Xbox Series X? I can only imagine how amazing how good the games will be. I gotta say, your stream's pretty clear tonight.
Yeah, what I tend to do is turn down the bitrate so it lags behind a little bit on your guys' end, but it comes in not as choppy. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Alright. 2. Go ahead, you were saying something.
That guy's a sponge. I think I was just gonna comment on how I can't remember anymore. But I do think it's funny how they just write the freaking combination on the side of the safe. Like, safe to keep people out. Where should we write the code? How about right on the side?
Yeah, I think because it was going to be. Yeah, and it was going to be it was actually supposed to be like installed into one of the like walls.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, why not just like write it on a piece of paper? Because if it is going to be put inside walls,
I'm not a safe installer.
Well, if I ever get a job as a safe installer, I'll know not to write it on the side. I can tell you that much. You know what I would love to see in a Resident Evil, though? A full auto weapon that isn't complete garbage.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what the weapons were like in 5, but I'm sure...
Oh, they're pretty hot garbage. There's only like a handful of them that are actually good. Nope, F you! Oh. Okay, sweet. Sweet.
Yeah, like the submachine guns, consistently just... Why even bother with them?
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the plague of video games, in my opinion, are submachine guns. Freaking get those pieces of crap out of my video games, because they are not accurate whatsoever.
Yeah. But which is a shame, because like in Call of Duty, I love submachine guns. Like back in the day when I actually played COD, I would use shotguns and SMGs almost exclusively. But then in games like Resident Evil and other such games, they're just awful. They just kick like a mule, you can't aim, they use way more ammo than they do. Like, it almost feels like you do more damage throwing them at them yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, in a game like Resident Evil where ammo management is an essential part, it really makes it less valuable to carry around a stupid stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's in a game franchise that is literally founded upon the idea of every bullet counts. Making your bullets not count or feel like they don't count is the worst move they could have ever made. And I mean that's honestly, you know, that tradition technically started with 4. Like, if you really think about it, because 4 was the first one.
TMP.
Yeah, where they had a need for different types of weapons other than a pistol or a shotgun. You know, because of freaking. I'm gonna lose my train of thought here. Because of
more
the fact
combat oriented.
Yeah, you would aim down the sights and have to worry about that. So it's interesting to see how 4 really actually changed the entire dynamic of the franchise as a whole. At least in my opinion. Like
No, like there's lots of people. Like earlier, I was commenting on your Resident Evil 4 about how it was pretty genre-defining and shoulder third-person shooter. A lot of games after Resident Evil 4, they adopted a lot of the same style. Like, I was reading an interesting article about it. That's the reason why I brought it up. Like, they were talking about how in Gears of War, they use that same type of style. Obviously very much improved from the crummy controls of 4, but keeping that same, I look over the shoulder and I can shoot my gun, and Tomb Raider, all sorts of games have used that same style. Resident Evil 4 is actually in many like lists of games that changed the world. It's almost always one of the games listed, and I think that's for many reasons. That's why it's would be so nice to get a version that can stand its own ground now, and not just you have to accept the crummy controls to be able to actually have it be a game worth playing. Because, like, let's say the remaster or remake of Resident Evil 2 didn't exist. The original Resident Evil 2 is still great, but garbage graphics, garbage controls make it a pretty unpopular choice.
Well, and also, you know, just the fact that it's... I hate to say this, because it comes off always sounding very judgmental, I think, whenever I say it. But, you know, nostalgia is what kills new fans, and turns them off of a franchise. And by that I mean, it's never, I
promise.
It's never, at least in my opinion, and what I have seen and heard from other people that I, you know, have talked to and whatnot, it's never the game itself that turns people off of a franchise. It's the fan base.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And nostalgia can be such a double-edged sword, because on one hand,
kind of like,
or on one side, you have, you know, nostalgia in the positive sense of, this is something that I really enjoy and I want you to enjoy it. And you know, you can either cram that down somebody's throat, or you can just say, here it is, I recommend it to you. Other than that, you're on your own. You can devise your own opinion about it in the future. And then we'll call it good. Or it's a battle of literally just cramming stuff down people's throats for no reason other than the fact that you just love it too much. And I honestly think that's why I kind of put off playing 4 for so long.
Just because it's such a fan favorite and such fan nostalgia.
And because so many people praise it as the best game ever. And you know, I have multiple games that I am nostalgic for and I love and enjoy. And if I had the opportunity to, I would drag my friends through them. But you know, there just comes a point in time where it's like, yeah, I see the flaws and I understand the flaws of this game, but it's still a good game. And I feel like, oddly enough, it happens way more with Japanese developers, or at least Japanese developed games, more so than the American or Western developed games. The fans just cannot accept any criticism of the game or the franchise.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. One thing that I'd also bring up with, like, the nostalgia is, like you were talking about with Resident Evil 3 and fans of the original being that some things were changed or left out or otherwise altered from the original, is that can really hurt a game too, because it's annoying. It's just like, hey, just play the game. It doesn't need to be exact carbon copy. Like, go play the old game if you want that. Like, I feel bad for the developers at that point, because, like, they tried hard to bring something that they thought fans would enjoy, and to see so many of them give that backlash. It's like they're just trying to bring you something you enjoyed, bring it up to this gameplay we have now. It's just kind of frustrating to see people refuse to accept accept change because they're so stuck in their nostalgia. That being said, some things probably shouldn't be revamped. Looking at you, CGI New Hope and original trilogy of Star Wars. Some things are better left unchanged, but I don't think that's quite the same.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with that point. There are some things that should be left to be kind of monuments of history in a way, and kind of have the impact that they were designed and meant to have. I do not know what I need to get rid of here, but I need to get rid of something. I guess this gunpowder, because I don't want to leave here without the pawn key. But look at, you brought up a good point talking about Star Wars, and obviously that's a very, I don't want to say touchy subject, yeah, or even that. Like, it's just a very interesting subject because there are points where it's like, the fans were right, and the original creator of this franchise and or like game needed to be stopped, and then came along and said, hey, you changed this, but people didn't like that, so we're gonna change it again. And then the new changes, like, there are certain things that should be left be what they really are, historic, if that makes sense. And Star Wars is probably one of those things that should have been left alone. Obviously, there were a couple of things that they made changes to and added in to, keep up with the current technology and see what they could get away with the current. I remember growing up hearing rumors that George Lucas technically had all 6 movies wrote and directed, like, the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. He had them all written, but he knew the technology wasn't there for the prequels, because he wanted those grandiose battles, and he wanted, the Clone Wars, and he wanted stuff like that to a very certain degree, but he couldn't do it with how limited the technology was at the time that they did the originals. Whether or not that is true, only George Lucas knows that, and even then, it's still questionable whether or not it's true, even if he claims it is. But in a way, there is a ounce of truth in that line of thinking of, if you have an idea and a vision for something, and then something comes along that allows you to more accurately fulfill that vision that you had, by all means, go ahead and do it. Like, fulfill your dreams, dude. But if it takes something... Oh, jeez. If it takes something and changes it not for the better, then just leave it be. Like, it's pretty easy to tell if something is going to be good or received well or received poorly. And a lot of the changes that were made to the original trilogy fall under that category of they didn't do so hot. They should have been left alone. Hey, no. Suck on Polygon. Hey, stop that. Like, number one situation that always brings up, people always bring up, Han shot first. Like, that is an undisputable fact, unless you're in that weird generation that didn't grow up ever seeing the original cut of the original trilogy. And even then, if you become a Star Wars fan, you kind of get to the point to where you're like, no, Han shot first. Like, that's just a fan-accepted line of thinking, because it helped Han Solo as a character be developed in such a way that it made him more, not relatable or likable, but it made him fit what he was described as, which was a scruffy-headed nerf herder. Like, he was a scoundrel. He was a scumbag. He was a smuggler. He was not a good guy. He was not a hero. He was the kind of guy that was looking out for numero uno, and if he was in trouble, he was going to shoot first. He wasn't going to wait around for the other guy to turn him in the back or get the upper hand, you know? Like, and I think, I don't know if you've watched it.
That's what...
all the way through, but that's something that Solo did a wonderful job of, you know, clearing up. Is spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen Solo, plug your ears or skip ahead about 30 seconds, because yeah, spoiler alert. One of the last things that happens is Woody Harrelson's character in that movie was essentially Han's mentor and kind of taught him all the tricks and whatnot of being a smuggler, like on a grander scale. Because Han, you know, grew up kind of like an Aladdin story of like being a street rat and having to forage for himself and, you know, handle for himself. But then, you know, we reach the end of the movie, and Woody Harrelson is in the middle of this kind of final monologue, kind of calling Han out for not being worth anything and not being able to make his own choices and, you know, stuff along those lines. And then in the middle of this monologue, Han just pulls his gun out and shoots him. Like, it was 100% a Disney kind of given the middle finger to the kind of the recuts of the original trilogy, even though they've kind of gone and screwed with the original trilogy, especially that scene on their own, in their own way. But it's kind of the writer and director of Solo being like, no, I grew up with Han shooting first, so he shoots first. He doesn't let you finish your stupid monologue about him not having the guts to do anything. He shoots you because that's who he is. He's not a good guy until he meets until he meets Luke and Obi-Wan and Leia and starts to believe in the rebellion and starts to believe in the Force and, you know, has that change of heart.
Which is what makes him an interesting character arc and dimensions. If he was always that way, he wouldn't be as interesting and dynamic of a character, and he wouldn't be such a favorite among crowds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's something that's interesting is the fact that Han was supposed to die in Empire Strikes Back. Originally, Han died when he got frozen in the carbonite, essentially. But then, you know, they saw how well the toy sales went and how well all that kind of stuff went, and they decided against it for money purposes. And obviously, you know, in the long run, it worked out. He became one of the most well beloved and enjoyed characters in sci-fi history.
I didn't know
but-
that he was supposed to die. I knew Harrison Ford always wanted to die, but that it was intended for him to be.
Yeah. Yeah, like more or less it was intended to bite the bullet.
Jesus Christ!
So yeah, like, and you know, kind of going back to the original point of fans ruining, ruining a franchise, you know, it can go both ways. Obviously, a corporation can ruin a franchise. But we live in this, like, day and age, which is kind of odd, where it's a sense of instant gratification, and it's a sense of I want it and I want it now and I deserve it now, not because I earned it, but just because I want it.
It's still alive?
And that's what we've run into, and that's what we've kind of encountered nowadays. Okay, yeah, thank you. And so it's very interesting to see and yeah, I forgot I have the flamethrower now. It's very interesting to kind of see and witness that kind of destroy franchises in a lot of ways. I think another franchise that almost suffers from its fan base is Harry Potter. Like, oh my goodness. Like, is it bad? It is so bad.
There's so many Harry Potter zealots.
Wait, what? No! Stay there! Oh, I messed this up. This up real bad.
And like,
Real bad.
and it can be true. Like, there's I'm a Xbox player through, and one thing I've seen is there's a lot of people that will badmouth a console or somebody that uses a console just because that's a console they don't use. Like, for instance, I was reading an article one time about a kid who was paid for playing Wii U because he enjoyed Nintendo games, and kids in school had made fun of him because he played on a Wii U. And to me, like, that just seems pretty lame and self-centered that somebody, because like we're all gamers here, why can't we game how we want to game without feeling ashamed for what we play?
Yeah, and
Like,
and I definitely
Fortnite.
I mean, we're not gonna get into that right now. Maybe some other night. That's too high stress for me right now. But no, like you are. You're right though. Like that's such an odd thing, and it's once again. I don't mean to point fingers or anything, but more often than not, the people trying to kind of perpetuate the console wars, at least as far as I've known on my or noticed on my social media feeds, are people who play PlayStation. And you know, I personally own all three companies. Like, I have an Xbox, an Xbox One, I have a PlayStation 4, I have a Switch. Like, I'm not picking favorites, because they all have valid points and valid reasons to be be owned and exist within the industry. Do they have strengths and weaknesses? Yes. Any corporation has strengths and weaknesses. Any product has strengths and weaknesses. And so it boils down to personal preference. And I think this kind of goes full circle back to what we were talking about nostalgia. Nostalgia is just glorified and personal preference that has,
where are you?
in a way, been ingrained into you for X amount of years, and therefore
I was getting worried there for a sec.
makes it to where you think that way of thinking or that line of thinking
Just do it.
is
I
fact.
can't walk like this.
Okay. It's gonna hurt. Hold on.
Like I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if you were following.
No, I agree with that.
Or if you're,
Relax,
if
okay?
you're just passing out over there.
No, I was just making sure you were done with your thought, and I'll be honest, I was kind
What do we
of
do now?
watching your stream a little.
Oh, the cutscene, just Leon staring
Yeah,
deeply
I like
into her
that.
eyes.
I really,
not just
well,
gonna
no,
leave
I since I
Not
get
like
a little
this.
bit of the lag behind, I always liked the G fights. I thought the G fights were fun, and so watching you fight G2,
You're not getting
I liked that fight. But yeah,
Protecting
like,
me. Now it's my
with
turn.
nostalgia, there's so many people, like, not so much myself. My first console was a GameCube, but I know there's a lot of people out there whose first
my
console was a PlayStation or a PlayStation 2.
Just trying to
And
help.
so they definitely like use the nostalgia factor to boost themselves, and then they use like the validation of like it being more popular over in like, because Xbox is definitely not as popular in like Asia as it is in North America. It's very much more popular over here than it is over there, whereas PlayStation is pretty global.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's interesting is Xbox is, you know, they, at their latest E3 and, you know, the last couple of E3s, they actually have been talking about how they've been in chat with, you know, tons of Japanese developers and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see how, in reality, Xbox is kind of being opened up over in Japan and becoming a little bit more popular in Asia.
Do not exit until the final destination.
But it's definitely nowhere near PlayStation, and it never will be. You know, just like PlayStation never will be on the same level as Nintendo over in Japan or Asia.
I can't wait for the
like
FBI to raid Umbrella
it's just a
headquarters and
matter
take
of
those
fact
bastards
of
to justice.
you are in this area of the
To be
world for
clear,
longer. You're going to
not
be more
working in official
popular
capacity.
in that area of the world. And you know, for all intents and purposes, Xbox is still very new, very, very new to the console gang.
Yeah, considering they came out after, because Sony had PlayStation, then PlayStation 2, and then after PlayStation 2 had been out for, I can't remember what length of time, but then Xbox was released, like midway through that generation.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy to think that the Xbox One X is the third generation of its kind, whereas like Nintendo, we had the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then the Super Nintendo, and then the Nintendo 64, and then the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, Nintendo Switch, and then all their
like
offshoots.
Yeah, all their handhelds and whatnot. And like by the time freaking Xbox got in the game, you know, they had already made X amount of I'm gonna put those back. X amount of Nintendo systems. They had already made like 5 Nintendo systems. It was ridiculous. You know, if you sit there and think about it. And then PlayStation, you know, as you mentioned, was already on onto PlayStation 2 and you know had big plans and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to see how quickly Microsoft kind of, in a way, wriggled their way into the console wars, and kind of solidified themselves as one of the big three. You know, because not only did they have to compete with Nintendo and Sony, but they also still had to compete with, you know, Sega and Atari and when Xbox first got in, they were not stepping into easy to fill shoes.
Yeah, because during that generation is when I believe wasn't that the death of the Dreamcast was during that time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Atari even had a modern system. And
I think they were trying
really
to.
easy.
I don't think they had a solid system, but they were trying to stay modern and stay kind of in the competition. But you know, just like Sega, they got pushed out.
Yeah, but for Xbox, Microsoft to be that successful at pushing a console, like, I think it would have been really easy for them if things like had not picked up for them to just scrap the whole Xbox and just push PC. I mean, Microsoft, I mean, it would have been pretty easy for them just to focus on more gaming-apt computers and computer programming.
Which is somewhat interesting because they've kind of done that, but then they have still bothered to be like, well, we know people don't want to spend X amount on a decent enough gaming PC, so, you know, we'll just make our Xbox better. Like, we'll make our console better and somewhat affordable. Like, yeah, it's not the cheapest thing on the market as of right now, and obviously they haven't announced prices for their next generation. But they definitely have done a phenomenal job of marketing to people who are looking to get into consoles that are more powerful than your traditional Nintendo console. Because obviously, like, Nintendo's greatest strength is their innovation and what they bring to the field in that regard. And they use that to their advantage all the time, and it's amazing. Like, it's amazing what they do at Nintendo. And then you know, there's kind of the big two of Sony and Xbox, and the fact that Xbox keeps innovating in such a way that, you know, they get new people involved is very interesting. It seems as though the more traditional gamer kind of sticks to the more traditional gaming systems of PlayStation and Nintendo. So yeah, it's very interesting. I gotta run to the bathroom real quick, but I will be back. Entertain my fans.
So that Dead Rising guy, what a gamer, am I right? One thing I've noticed throughout this, not a speed run, but basically a speed run playthrough, is very little healing compared to a slower run. I mean, granted, he is using a pistol that never runs out of ammo, which does give you an edge, because you can just keep pelting away and pelting away, pelting away. But I think it's quite interesting to note that just by running, you avoid so many fatal hits or conflict that can be avoided. I myself, I'm a much slower and steadier player when it comes to it, and I feel like as such I get hit more by different things, such as we discussed with the dogs. The dogs in Resident Evil, they're fast and attack slow targets, and so if you're fast, you can avoid them, as we saw Dead Rising do here. And it's just interesting to see how each strategy can affect a game such as this, where you have to use careful item management. By being fast, you avoid some things. Oh, whew. Dead Rising is back. I can stop rambling, trying to fill empty space.
No. What were you talking about? I'm curious now.
I was just talking about the weather outside. It's awful windy. No, I was just talking about like different play styles of how I'm a slower, steadier gamer, like when I play this, and then you go through them at a much quicker.
Yeah.
And how like
yeah,
I think I go through more health items than you do because I go through it slower, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know, just gives and takes. Yeah, I was stupid and I wasted too much of my flamer back in the sewers. As such, I tried to lure as many into a pile as I could.
Son of a bitch.
Oh wow, Sono's here.
Sonos?
You had to entertain. Yeah, you had to entertain her. She's a handful.
Oh, I see. I'm tired. I was thinking Sonos, like the stereo company. Yeah.
Yes.
Sonos. Our sponsor today is Sonos. They make some pretty cool
No.
sound bars.
No. We're not sponsored. We're not sponsored by anyone. Shut up.
You aren't. Let's go over to the
Wait, you're
Young
sponsored?
Nasty.
Why are you on? Why are you streaming if you're sponsored?
Well, wouldn't that be nice? That'd be pretty cool to be sponsored by a sound company.
Yeah.
Looking at you now.
Ball's in your court. Sonos. Oh, I'm sorry, Sono. You just haven't been commenting, I guess. But yeah, no.
No.
I'm sorry.
He doesn't know what he's saying. So funny.
I forgot these codes. And I don't want to go.
Yeah, I don't remember him either. I don't think that the colon one is. I want to say that it's big square over little square.
Holy crap, that name assist.
Because yeah, honestly, if you can remember all the codes or take the time to brute force It makes it so much easier.
Most of the time I can memorize all the codes, but I'm honestly more focused on chit-chatting, and I'm kind of tired, so... Get ready to get sloppy, is all I'm gonna say.
That's alright. I honestly should probably go to bed. It's getting kind of late here my time.
Oh,
Caitlin went to bed hours ago.
We're almost done here, though.
I know, it's like, I keep
this,
thinking, I'm like, I should go to bed. Maybe I'll go to bed once he gets to the umbrella. Oh, well, maybe I'll go to bed once he gets to here. Oh, well, at this point, might as well be here the whole game.
Literally all I have to do is get this last...
Wait. So, Sonos has been here the whole time and didn't
I guess.
put an F for my boy Marvin?
Yeah, I guess not. Jeez. Sonos and Marvin hater confirmed.
That hurts. Where were you when you found out Marvin was dead? I got the call. Marvin is killed. No. So funny.
Oh my gosh. You want to do me a solid and look up this code? Because I really don't want to go downstairs and have to deal with all this stupid power crap that you have to deal with.
Yeah, let me go grab my phone. Like I said, it died.
Oh, well, if that's the case, I got this.
I already grabbed it.
Oh, perfect.
It wasn't far away.
It's nice having a wingman.
2 greenhouse codes. Okay, what? So you need the second batch, right?
Whichever one starts with the
okay,
the double L's.
Double L's. So that's the second. None of them start with double L.
Not an L facing the right way and then an L upside down, facing the opposite direction.
Okay, so it's
290
gonna
degree.
be the one. It's gonna be that one in the top right corner first.
This one?
You're thinking, no, top right.
No, I've already
Top right.
done that one. Where?
Oh, so we're on the second code?
Yeah, yeah, for the actual.
Oh, I
greenhouse
see, I
thing.
see. Sorry, the one on the pedestal. Alright, then it's the skinny eye. Then
Skinny
the
eye, that's
big
what it
block above the little block, and then the fat eye. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were on the other one. My bad.
Wait. Big block on top of the skinny block. That's what it is. There we go. Alright. Cause yeah, if I don't have to go downstairs and deal with the lickers and zombies down there, then I'd rather not. And I keep forgetting that I don't actually have to deal with them in every single playthrough that I do.
Well, I mean, you do. Well, you can sneak past them just fine.
Manual mode engaged.
If that's what you mean, but I mean, you still don't. You still have to go down there for the whatever it's called, the radio thingy.
Oh yeah. Wait, no.
And to cool
I mean,
it.
yes. But yeah, I have to go down there to cool it. Freak. Forgot about that.
But you don't have
So
to make
screwed.
multiple trips.
Yeah. Also,
Oh, you should probably focus on this part because I hate this part. Because I always accidentally hit one button wrong and then it just screws me. Oof.
messed up again.
Oh, I feel bad. I hope I didn't make Sono cry. I hope that was you. I guilt trip myself too easy to have this on my conscience.
I'm sure it was me. Wait. No. Wait, yeah, okay. Sweet. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I think this is funny. Like, if you can get it like right off the bat, or you have to switch around things for like 30, do it like 30 times.
Yeah, but that's just because I'm a freaking idiot and actually haven't played this game in about 2 months. And before that, it had been almost a year.
Yeah. You know the hazmat dude in the corner? Every time I go in there, like, even though I beat the game and I'm replaying it, still suspicious of him.
I mean, out of everyone, he's probably the least suspicious. Honestly.
I don't trust him. Yeah, when I was going through as a player, I realized
wrong button.
How worthless the staircases with that one ivy. Just a waste of time. No point going up there.
100%. 100% though. I don't want to use
Whoa!
this. What?
It actually startled me. I thought you'd killed them all.
Oh, yeah.
See that go to next to that? Oh boy, that would scare anybody.
Oh, discard this? I'm just joking. I am gonna discard this grenade because I don't need it. Oh, I do have to go up those stairs because this is the stupid first playthrough where the thing isn't that it needs to be.
Wait, why do you have to go through?
Trip? Because the thing is upstairs in the one room.
Yeah, so just go back up the ladder.
You can't get to that room without. Hey, no! Yeah, suck on that.
I don't recall.
You'll see. You'll see what I'm saying. We don't have to fight that Ivy multiple times to go upstairs. Do with this stupid idiot. How's it hanging, dude? You think he's dead?
Oh, that reminds me. One of my playing through the as Leon again. When you go to get the diamond key from the guy in the morgue, if you shoot off all of his limbs, he still flies off the gurney.
Yep. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that kind of annoyed me about 3 is the fact that, see, that's what I meant. You have to physically go get the thing. Is this Magnum ammo? No, that's handgun ammo. The zombies didn't fall apart as easily as they do in this one.
But at least you had Unbreakable Knife.
Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't like how Jill used it. Like, she stabbed with it, which to me would be really weird. I would not be, unless it was at the head, I would not be stabbing anything. Because that would put you way too close. And not give you enough time to, like, push back. Oh wait, I need to make sure this is set. Orf.
Ah boy, everybody's favorite type of minigame. Move the left stick and the right stick until the pattern aligns.
And then cry yourself to sleep. Do I have a blue herb lying around? Nope, there's one upstairs though. Oh look, more gas.
Yeah, I think I completely missed the safe room in my first playthrough. Just because I was so eager to get out of here.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I want to hang on to that. I'm actually gonna pull this out and use it.
Had to explore everywhere with Claire though, trying to get any frickin' thing.
The 100% though.
Is that quick draw Army or quick draw Amy? Oh man.
Amy.
It was just as worthless as the SMG.
Dr. Lee, you have
Oh yeah.
45 large caliber rounds my butt.
Yeah.
Who left
for
the
reals.
freezer open?
cooling.
Also,
complete.
highly suspicious of everything in this room.
Yeah, honestly, I always think that this lady is gonna get up and do a nice little jump scare, but she never does, so it's pretty nice.
Wait, what? I thought she was alive.
Nope. She is as dead as a doorknob. Oh, it is alive though. This douchebag. Baby burn. Just going for no burn, baby burn.
Oh boy. Now's the time for
Yeah.
you to pat yourself on the back and say, good job killing all the IVs.
That did the
Except
trick.
I didn't. I didn't kill all of them.
Warning.
They're still alive in
You
here.
have dispersed a dangerous
Like this one,
substitute
still
without
alive.
authorization.
This one?
Well, it's a good thing you can move fast.
Have been locked, and you may be subject to disciplinary measures.
Roll, rolling, rolling like a river.
You know, he's awfully nimble for such a big guy.
Oh yeah, dude, you'd be surprised how quickly buff dudes can move.
From those ballet lessons.
Oh, I'm sure. Yep, every tyrant had to go through a rigorous ballet lesson hosted by none other than
Albert.
Oscar himself.
Hope Hopefully the G samples up here.
It is interesting though, like how many football players and other athletes, and large people do ballet.
Yeah,
Get to be
it's
light on
honestly
their feet.
impressive. Like, all the more power to him, honestly.
Not me though,
I
I'm
need to
too
restore
manly to
power
do
here.
ballet. That and I've got about as much rhythm as a 2x4.
Oh, you do have to restore power. Freaking bogus.
Oh, did you not bring it with you?
No, I did. I just hate having to deal with it. You know, that was,
Oh, the little mini game.
yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't need it anymore. The only other place that you need it is to get the storage, and I don't really need the storage in this run through.
Oh, in
Literal
the napping room?
run through.
Yeah, I thought the napping room was going to be scarier than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not that bad.
Yeah, when it provided me with the list, I thought it was going to be like some genetic mutation. EOW. Just a regular run-of-the-mill zombie. Not that bad.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was easy.
Wet all the green herbs.
All right, now back to 8.
No, his freaking block hands. You'll see.
Oh. Oh my god.
When he picks up
Dude,
the
that-
G
It
sample.
looks freaking Minecraft or something. Oh my gosh.
That was easy. He like barely picks it up and then just rolls it around in his block hand. Freaking hilarious.
Is Leon a Jedi? Is that how he's
He didn't want to fight the sticks.
I thought this fight was a lot of fun, honestly. But I used my Magnum the entire fight, so.
I mean, I just used it. Hey, put that down. Yeah, that's right, punk. Sit down. Now, torture bird, baby. Reason I have 40 rounds of shotgun. And they're all
Oh man. I do think it's interesting, Resident Evil's infatuation with eyeballs.
Dude, they gotta show off the weak point somewhere.
But on like the classic cover of Resident Evil 2, it was a zombie face with the eye.
Well,
And then,
wasn't that also the original cover of the first one?
I thought the original had like pushing, like zombie or something. I think the original.
Unauthorized virus.
see. Google images.
Hey, buddy. Please step off. No, come on. Yeah. Let off some steam. Leave your back exposed. Wait, hold on. There's the first aid spray. On the other side! Don't touch me! Wait. There it is.
So one of the covers, for like the one on PlayStation, has Chris holding a gun. But there is one alternate. Has like a bunch of shadows or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks like I've only seen it one time, but like a director's cut that has the zombie's face on it.
Yeah. And I think that's the one I'm talking
Target
about.
has been neutralized. Ending quarantine.
But and then Revelations 2, if I recall, has a big ol' eye.
Yeah, Resident Evil 1 also has an eyeball.
Use the central elevator to evacuate immediately to the bottom level train platform.
Alright. This is the moment.
I think it's funny how we progressively watch less and less of the cutscenes.
Well, I mean, I enjoy the cutscenes.
I'm ready to.
But then we started getting pretty close to the end, and it's getting pretty late, and I want to beat this below 3.5 hours. Not gonna need a knife anymore.
I'm rooting
All I need
for
is
it.
health.
It's almost 2 a.m. my time, and I got work at 8.
Well, thank you for joining us this late. Holy cow. It's a late one.
Self-destruct.
Oh, do I have shotgun ammo?
You are a trooper.
I do.
Use the central elevator to evacuate.
Have you saved once?
Nope.
Nice.
But I've died twice. Savings for pansies. So, something that always makes me laugh is this core for the lab that's like self-destructing. Because like passing it most of the time, I guess right now I notice it's a cylinder instead of a sphere, but I always kind of saw it as a sphere, and it always reminds me of the scene from Spider-Man 2 where Doc Ock is like
the power of the world in the
palm of my hand.
That's hilarious. It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I had a friend who was obsessed with Doc Ock. He thought he was the coolest, and I thought Green Goblin was way cooler than Doc Ock.
Hot take, Willem Dafoe will be the only person capable of playing live-action Green Goblin.
He did a good job. I like Willem Dafoe. I really want to. I've been meaning to see the Lighthouse. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty unique. I just have a hard time watching movies like all so similar to each other. So one of the reasons I wanted to see this is because it actually looked like a unique movie that wasn't like all the other ones that have been coming out lately.
Why you wanted to watch The Lighthouse?
What?
Why you wanted to watch Lighthouse, or just
Yeah.
this movie in general?
Yeah. No,
Oh, hey, bud.
Lighthouse.
Is this a fucking joke?
8 minutes.
Bandit also reminds
There you
there's
go.
a old short story, I believe, that Vincent Price does a radio show reading of it called Three Skeleton Key. It's about some guys at a lighthouse that get attacked by rats. Pretty good. Pretty scary. And it reminded me of that story.
Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, okay. You know what we don't need? We don't need the wristband, and we don't need this.
Do you need your flamethrower?
No, but I'm gonna keep it.
That's the spirit.
See, he's already on fire. Why not a little bit more?
Oh, those hands. Yeah, he reminds me of Nightmare from Soul Calibur.
Dude, oh my gosh. Nightmare. As a kid, growing up, Nightmare was my Jimmy Jam, yo.
I was Team Raphael. I got the Soul Calibur 2 for GameCube because it had Link, and
Yeah.
I realized that you could cheat so many fights just by timing the Y button right, because with Nightmare, for instance, you could just keep him on the ground, or Raphael, you could keep stunning him over and over, and Link, his cheese, if you press it down, like on the movement stick, he would crouch and have his shield in front of him, and you could just swipe at their legs without taking it.
Shoot your heart out! Please no, Daddy. Daddy Tiger, no.
6 minutes until detonation.
Oh, there.
Oh man, dude, you shouldn't. Too bad you skipped the cutscene of Ada and Leon's kiss.
Oh, dang it! Ah, that's the one thing I didn't want to skip. Ah! I forgot!
That would have been so funny. Regrets and resolutions.
Like Claire taking off her jacket to give it to Sherry.
That'll be good fun. You guys could adopt me. Simmer down.
No, I love how they're all like, haha, yeah,
Where did
yeah,
this
and then where they draw the line is when she's like, we could get a puppy or a parrot, and they're like, mother effer, what do you think this is? A charity case?
You know, I gotta admire how smart Sherry is because she recognizes Kay. Both my parents, who are mad scientists, just ruined an entire city.
You have arrived
I'm an
at the
orphan,
bottom level.
probably penniless. I gotta start acting quick.
Honestly, I freaking love Sherry. She's great.
Shit!
Alright, I'm not gonna skip this, solely for the fact that he takes the wristband off and looks at it longingly and then chucks it off to the side. Also, look at how he's gripping on that train.
that would be pretty funny, as if they had given Sherry the pixelated or not, the bad jacket.
Can't believe I actually miss her.
That wristband. It's just stuck in his thumb. Oh my gosh.
You can see the pain and emotion in his face.
Directly in his eyes. His never. Oh my gosh.
Hey. We made it.
Just like I said we would.
Oh. Jeez. What's it gonna be?
You could adopt me.
There we go. Holy
I'm
crap.
waiting to see the score on my end.
Oh my gosh.
Does that say 2 hours and 33 minutes?
Yup.
Oh my gosh.
Oh jeez. You know what's funny?
That's crazy.
I could have done it this fast out of assist mode. I just didn't want to have to deal with it, honestly.
Cause yeah, I think there's a special achievement you get for 0 saves.
Yeah, you get the S+ rank, which I've already gotten. And it's for doing it in, doing it in,
less than 4 hours with less than 4 saves.
Yeah, look at this stat right there. 2 hours, 47 minutes, and 52 seconds. 0 saves, S+ rank.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
That's
like,
crazy,
I
dude.
Tore this game a new one that time. Oh my gosh. Well, dude, thank you for like staying up and chatting. This was actually pretty fun. We might have to do this again sometime. It was definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, it was a blast. I'm glad I stayed awake through the whole thing. There was a couple times where I was told to entertain a stream, and I was a little unaware of what to do.
Dude, I mean, technically there was only one time where I told you to entertain the stream. Every other time, I randomly pulled you into my stream.
Anyways, it is 1:50. I probably ought to get some sleep. Yeah,
man.
If Caitlin asks, I went to bed at about 10:30.
Yeah, and there's no video evidence of that being false at all.
I mean, it's not like she went to bed at 11.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Like, come on, man. But yeah, no, thank you so much for joining me. We'll have to do it again sometimes, man. Like, this was actually super enjoyable. I feel like we talked about a lot of good stuff. I mean, it's all stuff that we've talked about before, but I don't know. It was
fun
definitely
to do it with some good gameplay.
Oh yeah, it was fun to do it with some good gameplay, and you know, it definitely developed into a more, I guess, in-depth conversation as we went on, and it definitely was something that was unique and interesting. Hey, maybe I'll have you on tomorrow night for Resident Evil 4, and you can Google and drool and ogle over that game while I play and get frustrated.
I'm not sure I could control my tongue.
I don't know, man. I feel like I've gotten enough of the hang of it to where I know what I'm doing. I may not be the brightest cookie, but I'm holding my own.
It's not that. There's so many things. It's like, no, you can do it this way. Caitlin thinks it's the funniest thing to just watch me squirm as you do something other than the way I would do it.
Oh yeah, no, I know. We've talked about it, but
Oh, it's
yeah,
so funny.
thanks for joining me. It was fun. Everybody give a great big round of applause to Young Nasty for his second stream, and definitely
Oh yeah.
a good co-host. Definitely something that I feel like I'll have to do a lot more because this was fun. It was fun to actually have somebody to talk to other than delayed text where people tell me not to die right after I died.
Yeah, that's always my specialty.
But yeah, thank you everyone who tuned in and watched this special episode of just goofing around in Resident Evil 2. We'll might have to do it with Resident Evil 3 and just kind of keep this conversation going.
Speed run that
here and there. Yeah, see if we can get through there. But yeah, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a good night. Hope you guys sleep well. Hope you guys get up in time for work. And hope you guys enjoy your evening and have a good one. Catch you guys. Bye.